Well, here we go. So welcome to our fun and first episode of this, what I call culture hack. Just talking about discovering America as Chinese, or on the flip side, for John and I, discovering China as an American. I really want it to be fun and, us just talking about, what our experiences are like in both countries, and what we can, I think in the end, let's say somebody from China comes over to America, what can they learn from you guys' experience and my experience? So this would make it kind of fun. So anyways, without further ado, I think it'll be good to kind of introduce ourselves. And John, would you like to begin and share a little bit about you? Oh, by the way, it would be good to use a little bit Mandarin too. I think this will make it kind of fun to have both languages interplaying.
我的中文名字叫游思华，游三街的游，思想的思，中华的华。我在亚洲30年，在中国大陆20几年了。从1983年开始，我这37年一直跟中国人很高兴的聊一聊，就讲到这儿。
Oh, your Chinese is very good.
谢谢。
Boaz, can you share a little bit about you? You can use English or Chinese or both, whatever you like.
OK， 我是来自中国的一个留学生，在这边第2年的留学生的生活。我在西南神学院读书，然后和我的太太还有2个儿子都在这边，享受这边的学生生活。我叫许宏伟，我的英文名叫 Boaz。You can call me both. I will answer.
Hey, Ying, you want to introduce yourself? What do you do? Yeah, how long you live in China? All that stuff, all that fun stuff.
我现在在美西南读神学，要读教会音乐，跟Boaz 是在同一个学校。然后我是去年来到美国，在这里有快1年的时间。然后我大概5年前信的主，然后我在中国有生活了20多年，所以非常不一样。中国跟美国的文化很不一样，尤其是在德州这个它属于圣经带的这个地区，体验到了中国没有的那种基督教的文化。那在神学院里面，那更不一样，环境会更不一样。Anyway, so basically that's my introduction.
So let me introduce myself. 我的名字顾伟喜, or my name is Philip Koo, and I pretend to speak Chinese, but my teacher is right there. Boaz is my teacher, so he's been so gracious to teach me Chinese over the past few months. I'm one of many directors, pastors at Christ Chapel Bible Church in Fort Worth. I came over to Fort Worth in 2007, lived in Miami, Florida most of my life. My parents are from Shanghai, Nanjing. My wife is from Hong Kong. Her parents are from Sichuan province. I pursued my master's degree in electrical engineering, my master's in divinity at Southwestern, and then eventually my PhD in 2017. So God has graciously given me a good education, and as well as a pastoring position that I love, and culture, and just a love for the nations. I love, and just like John, I think both of us can, and Boaz and Ying as well, I think we really truly have a love for the nations.
Amen.
Yeah. And there's something about China, I don't know what it is, that we truly, truly love. And I think this is a great way of just interjecting experience into our love for China and America, and trying to just learn. I think learn from each other would be a great objective and expectation for this. So Boaz, let me ask you, since coming to America, what is something you identify with? I mean, do you see yourself more now as an American than Chinese, or still very much Chinese?
Oh, I think I still very much a Chinese. 2 years is too short a time for me to change. But I'm not sure for my two sons now. Barnabas and William, yeah, they like the American life more than the life in China, I'm sure.
How about you, Ying?
I think my first identity is a Christian, and then the second identity is my nationality is China. That is, God gave me the identity on earth, my nationality. Yeah. So I don't think I'm American. I'm a Chinese.
For sure, for sure. How about you, John? I mean, both of us have been doing missions, and traveling to China a lot.
Right. I've most of the years from 1983 to 2012 have been in China. I've lived in Shanghai, Nanjing, places familiar to your parents, Shantou, Lanzhou, Xi'an, Chengdu, also across the straits in Taiwan. Love the Chinese people. I think, and even though I've was born in this country in America, I consider myself a lot an egg. I have a lot of China inside me. I mean, so I'm white on the outside, but I've got a lot of China on the inside of me.
Inside, yeah. So
Love the Chinese people.
So that being said, how do you define your identity? Like what
identity
definition for identity?
I fully agree with Ying. I see myself first as a citizen of heaven, citizen of the King, and yet after that, I'm I love the people of China. I love people all over the world, like you say. So it's very natural and easy for me to relate to the Chinese people because not only have I lived there so long, but I love their culture. I love their language. I love the people. So
yeah,
very
great.
natural, easy for me to connect with Chinese people.
It's a great definition, right? I mean, you put it there, right? If you immerse into the culture, the language, the food, and even
love the food,
the people, right? You become more
exactly
of that group, right? Just look at Boaz and William, right? Barnabas and William.
Yes.
Right? They're immersed into the American culture and the isms, right? The English and the food, and they become more.
Yeah, that's true.
Consider identify with American.
They like cold water, cold milk.
Water, cold. Well, big difference, right? Yeah. So how do you define Chinese culture?
Oh, it's big topic.
Yes.
Chinese culture. Oh, stupid. Chinese culture is changing. Yeah. And it's changing all the time. And I think for my generation, it is very different from the culture that my father and mother have lived. So for now, and the world know that Chinese has aims at developing their economic. Yeah, this is the first aim. So I think the whole culture is being changed through how we value relationship and how we value time and family and your job. We has all been changed by the main focus on the economic issue. Yeah, I think when I came to the United States, when I went to church, even the church is different. In the church, people always walk very slowly. Yes, and for me and my wife, we just like we are running in the church. Yeah, because we are used to do things. I think maybe very quickly, especially in the big cities. Yeah, so we tend to ignore some relationships now. Yeah, I think it's the viewpoint from my experience.
You want to say a little bit of that in Chinese?
I think in Chinese, I live in Nanjing. Yes, and it's a very big, very huge city. Many people live there. The people there, I think they need to get up and at about 7 o'clock, and then by metro to go to to work. Yes, and most of them will stay up very late. They cannot get home until about 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, and then have their meals, and then need to get up early, go to work again. So it's the mainly the life, what the life is like in some huge cities. Yeah, so make people focus mainly on what they need to do in their work. Yeah, people tend to ignore their relationship, and then even the kids, yeah, even the kids in the kindergarten, wow, their mathematics is very easy, right? But in China, well, even the kids, they need to pass some examination to go to their first grade, and they need to know how to calculate maybe how 43 and 55 was the result, like that thing. Yeah. So they are very busy since they were young. I think it's another topic that is very hot in China now. The kids, the children are very busy. Their parents are very busy, and their grandparents are busy with taking care of their grandsons. The whole country is very busy.
How about you, Ying? How would you define your experience and traditions as being Chinese?
As a Chinese, I know the Chinese culture surrounded me in my city and even in my province, but I'm still learning about Chinese culture. I mean, because China is big, and Chinese history is long, and so I think in order to know better about Chinese culture, we need to know Chinese history. We need to learn, especially some big events like Cultural Revolution, and every dynasty in the history, how they change and then change, then they replaced by other dynasty, and how it goes. So it will help us to learn, to know more, understand more why China is currently this situation. You will understand why China doesn't have a democracy like America. You will know why communist cannot be acceptable in the world except China. So, okay, thank you. So, 所以我觉得我英语还不是很好，尤其现在讲这么一个大的话题啊，然后我就用中文说还比较好一点，就是就是我觉得中国文化是很大很复杂的一个问题，然后我觉得要了解一个国家的文化的话，那个历史是一个很重要的部分。但我不知道为什么我在比较为什么中国不可以像美国有这样的文化，不可以有自由，不可以有什么。但是当我去了解整个时代的变化的时候，几千年的这个封建，几千年的这个皇帝制，我就更多明白为什么中国是这个样子，就是它有它独特的地方，它就是现在的一个文化生态是这样子的一个呈现出来的，所以这是一个很大的话题。但是文化它又是渗透在普通老百姓的日常生活当中的。为什么我们喜欢吃饺子？为什么我们会过春节？这很普通的一些事情上也会反映出中国的文化。 我觉得，我觉得每一个民族，它后面它的文化中有它的有藏在背后的恐惧。如果我要去做一个文化更新者 （culture renew），我不了解这种恐惧，或者我没有胜过我父辈的那种恐惧，我很难去做 renew 这种事情。所以，所以那美国人有美国人的恐惧，他们很怕比如说失去自由，或者是 maybe，那中国人有中国人的恐惧，很深的恐惧。Anyway，这个是比较深的东西了。哦，OK，that's it。
Great, John. John, I mean, you've lived in both. I mean, what do you see like the intricacies of being Chinese is? I mean, you've been there for almost 30 years. I mean, I'm sure you
Sure.
learned a lot from that.
Well, one of the things that I so have enjoyed and loved about the Chinese people is that they are a people who have persevered, like Ying was saying, for thousands of years in many tumultuous and difficult time periods. She mentioned the Cultural Revolution. I lived for 5.5 years in Xi'an, and there were, I think, 13 different dynasties and over 1,000 years of those dynasties in that city. And I loved being in there because I could learn so much about some of the things that Ying is talking about with how China had developed and how the people have become the kind of people that they are in the situation that they've developed and grown up in. So it's been eye-opening for me. Before I went to China, I had very little understanding about people, about the culture, and I have just learned and grown tremendously from benefiting from living there and just connecting, finding out from people that, you know, I do enjoy books. I've done a couple of master's degrees in international business and also in theology, but I love to learn from people. I love to find out about their experiences and about how they think and the kind of things that interest them and the things that they like. So the Chinese people are just, I found to be such dear people. They are very sincere, loving, caring people. They have a tremendous history of the family that has been so important to them. And I benefited so much from many of the family and traditional values that I've seen in their culture. It's been a real blessing and help to me. But lots and lots of things. I agree with Ying. There's so much to learn. Even though I've lived there more than 20 years, I still have so much to learn myself about the culture and the people.
It's interesting. My dad grew up during the Cultural Revolution, and even during the Japanese-Chinese aggression in Nanjing. So he was there, and he shared a lot of stories with me about. At the time, everybody was very uneducated, and so it was basically you're working. You built a very rich work ethic in a lot of ways, like the 20s, right, the 30s here in America, where you have a generation that, you know, birth, you know, the baby boomers that are just, they work so hard, you know, and then they pass on this legacy to their children. And I remember when I went there for the first time in 2011, I went to Jinan and got off the airplane and got into the taxi, and the taxi driver called me Lao Shi. Right. And I was just surprised. I was like, what? That's so respectful, right? They don't even know me, but they're showing, you know, this hierarchy of respect that, you know, I don't want to sound, you know, offensive, but, you know, Confucius and Lao Tzu and, you know, the teachers of the day have so much influence now, society, Chinese society, that is built up around respect and candor. You know, and it's a side that we're not familiar with, right? Because when you look at the TV screen, you're like, oh, well, China this, China that. But it's different, right? You know, John and I, you know, I don't know, I've experienced such a love for the Chinese people, maybe because I've experienced that other side where I have seen the goodness. I have seen the respect and the honor, but at the same time, there's always a, a fine balance, right? Of, sometimes that's not, there's also the tough side, like Boaz says, and Ying, the education, the push and the drive, and not having the relationship. The respect is there, but the relationship sometimes is missing. So that being said, I mean, Boaz and Ying, you've come from China.
Yes.
So what do you see, what is one experience that you've noticed that you wish you knew before you came to America? One thing that you learned, that you wished you learned before you came to America?
I think personally speaking, for me, I wish that I can drive before I came to the United States. And I also advise the friends that who want to come to America, you need to take your driver's license test and try to learn how to drive. I know that maybe not many of you own a car, but you can borrow a car to drive well, and then come here. And because it's so basically a need in daily life, and you need to know how to drive a car, you need to drive to the grocery store and to the university, and yeah, to do everything. Yeah. So for me, when I was here, I although I have my license, but I don't know how to drive. It's really a huge challenge for me. I still remember the first time when I drove on the street of the United States in Fort Worth. When I got home, I couldn't speak any word. I just lay down and fall asleep. And the next day I got up and at about 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, because at that time there's no cars on the street, so that I can feel safe to drive from my home to the school. So I think this is one of the basic things you need to learn. And another thing I think is that you need to expect that the life here is different from the life back in China. So there'll be some challenges, but I'm sure that you can overcome it. Although it will be difficult in the beginning, but maybe a month later, if you have learned how to live here, learn the way people do things, then you can enjoy everything you do here with people. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely love you, Boaz. Ying, same question. What is one thing you would say that you wish you knew before you came to America?
There are so many. Okay. Maybe, okay. The first, I choose an easy one. I hope I know maybe food. Before I come to United States, I thought the food is okay for me. I can eat American food all the time, and it doesn't matter if I don't cook for myself. It's okay. But I failed. After 2 months, I eat American food. I just cannot. My body cannot adjust that food. So I have to cook by myself.
So food is either very seasoned or very cold.
It's so different from Chinese food. I love soup, but here I cannot buy soup in the student restaurant, and only chicken, beef, meat, and hamburger. So, but Chinese food have many options. So different. I love soya beans. I love oyster sauce. I love Chinese many ingredients to cook. So that's my stomach, Chinese stomach.
Yeah, you have a Chinese stomach.
I cannot change that. So I discovered that after 2 months here.
So definitely tell people to prepare to get ready for the differences in the food quality, right? The food taste and
Um,
food quality is probably not the right word, but maybe more like the differences in the taste and
um, I highly estimate my ability to adjust the new environment, but eventually it turn out to be failed. And so maybe for people who want to come to America, you can prepare for cooking for yourself.
how
Yeah,
about
that's
you, John? How would you? What would you say? I mean, you spent 30 years over there and then came back. So, what would you say? Hey, if you're Chinese and you're coming over, you need to do this one thing.
Well, I think some of the example what Boaz said is very, very true because very few people percentage wise now have cars. I think if they could learn beforehand how to drive, because it is such a, cities like Fort Worth, there are buses, but it's not very easy, I think, to get around the Dallas Fort Worth area by buses or trains the way it is in China. So I think being able to learn something like a skill like driving would be extremely helpful for doing that. And I think as best they can, learning to be a person that is flexible and open to learning new things. I think sometimes the people that may come here, they're not very, it's difficult for them. I think Ying has said it is, there's a part of us that are, I've got some American sides to myself that, in 30 years in Asia, they still, I still tend to be competitive, probably more competitive than a lot of the people in China, although people in China are getting more and more competitive.
Yeah.
But then there's some things that we used to have this saying that when we had new things we went to in China that our experience in China, it wasn't wrong, but it's different. And I think, some things obviously are wrong, but there are things when people come here to America, they're very different, like the food or, certain life habits, the freedom or other things, but it's not necessarily wrong the way that, things are done here compared to maybe China, but it is different. And if you can be teachable and learning, willing to learn new things and be open to new things, I think it will help in your adjustment and adaptation to a culture like in America, that I found that I had to learn lots of new things to be open to new things when I went to China. That would be very important for people coming here.
So, if you were to define being an American, so Boaz, in one word, what would that word be?
enjoying the life. Can I use 3 words? Yeah, enjoying everything. Yeah. I mean that I think many Chinese friends have this experience. When we live in China, many times you feel that you are being used by a tool for the whole society, and you are using many people as a tool. Yeah. So we have lost some kind of enjoy friendship and enjoy the life, enjoy the free time, enjoy everything here. So when you moved here, people like to do things in a fun way, in an interesting way, and you have more time here. I think you can try to adjust yourself to another kind of life that is not so fast and you can see everything in another viewpoint, from another viewpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing is that's very different here. When I walk on the street, when somebody meet me, they will say, hello, how are you? They will see me and smile to me. It's very strange. It's not very familiar for me when I was back in China. If I see a stranger and I smile to him, he would think that, are you trying to sell something to me? So basically every relationship, people tend to think that, what can this relationship bring something for me? Or that these people want me to bring something to him so that he smile to me. But there's another way to value all these things, different stuffs. Yeah. But I still cherish the way that the Chinese friends spend together. The relation, if they are friends or the relationship is closer here, that's very strange. So because in the United States, the strangers will smile to each other, but it seems that the friendship and the relationship is a little bit more far off. Yeah, not very close to each other than the friendship I had in China. Yeah.
Mm.
So I think it's different ways, because here people tend to value more about personal privacy and freedom. Yeah, people will think it comfortable to live in their life than not too close to another body. But Chinese people, even the boys and the girls, when they walk on the street, they will yeah, put their hands on the other's shoulders. Yeah. So it's the different ways. But I think that people here, if I can use one word to identify the life here, is try to enjoy. Yeah, enjoy.
Joy. Yeah. How about you, Ying? Same question. What if you were to define an American with one word? What word would you choose?
Oh, one word is too hard. I can say I can share some about how I experienced in Fort Worth. I cannot say it represents the whole United States. In Fort Worth, I feel people respect each other's boundaries more, and they don't judge people. Most people don't judge others, and people don't have much pressure in the living. I mean, make a living. They don't have much pressure as in China. So I think that's part of the reason why Boaz said it's more enjoyable here. And the rent, the housing rent is not as very high. And so now many Chinese young people, they feel anxious and about living probably. So they work very hard. They are very busy. They don't have much time to think about themselves, think about their faith. They have to make a living.
Right.
But so I think God bless America, bless the Fort Worth in this way. I mean, young people, they feel much better in make a living. So one word, respect.
Respect. How about you, John? Same question.
Boy, a lot of different ideas have been going through my minds for a one word thing. Hard for me, like Ying said, to boil it down to one word, but one 3-word phrase that comes to mind that I think people, a lot of the immigrants that came here, that I think their experience and so much of the life here has been, I think, really enjoyed, like like Boaz was saying, is because I think this is Americans have been blessed by God. We came here and from many different places from around the world. Even the Indians, I think, came from the lands around the Garden of Eden in Israel. But this land has been blessed by God. It's rich in so many ways and resources, in lands that are fertile in beauty. You know, the word for America in Chinese is beautiful country. I think just a land that that has been blessed by God. Americans, we are blessed by God to have the privilege to have such a large area that we can spread out in and enjoy life in, like Boaz is saying, as opposed to so many countries where it's very crowded, you know, whether it's Shanghai or Japan or so much of Asian city life often gets very, very crowded. And Singapore, where I lived, lots of, you know, high-rise apartments that we have those here too in some of the bigger cities in New York and Chicago and things, but just blessed by God comes to mind. That America, we are a country that's been blessed by God. Americans are.
A land of blessing, yes.
And a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah, the one word that always comes to mind for me is just interdependence. You know, the one quality I love about being in America is you have all these distinct cultures, but they're all now second, third, fourth, you know, even further down the road, fifth, sixth, seventh generations. And you have a collective melting pot of people who have to learn to work with each other. Like you're forced to do it. You don't have a choice. Whereas in China, you still have an individualistic culture because you still have the, you know, most people are Han Chinese. They're, you know, so they're same people, same color, same skin. So it's almost like, you know, 80% of your culture is you're seeing the same people every day. I mean, really, it's so you have a very same people group that's working together versus with us, you always have a distinction. You always, I mean, look at the political problems we have, right? Racism, you know, color, you know, ethnicities, like those are primary problems, which forces us to work together. We have to build a culture of interdependence, which for me, it's, you know, and it goes back to what Boaz said earlier, it's relationships. We have to learn to cultivate relationships. And I don't know, when I go over to China, it's almost like I fit in. Like my face fits in. You know, people would tell me, just don't speak. You look like a typical Chinese. Right? Don't talk. As long as you don't talk.
In Germany, don't talk, open your mouth, or they'll think you look German.
Speak in Cantonese. You'll be still okay.
Yeah, I can still, you know, 講廣東話.
Yeah, people think that you are come from Guangdong. Yeah, it's okay.
Right. So it's kind of funny, like here, you know, if we have a problem, you know, like with the pandemic, right? I was afraid to go out at night because of the whole Asian, you know, phobia thing. Same thing with 9/11, right? You had Islamophobia, you know, the whole, you know, racism thing that's still happening between blacks and whites. So, but that doesn't happen in China because I just blend right in, you know, it's just, I fit in, you know. So it's interesting just for me to, if I think about, you know, America, I think about relationships. I think about, you know, the camaraderie we have, the interdependence. Anyways, that we're out of time, but that's good. I like to strike it up again next time and hopefully hopefully January comes and Orange comes and we'll have a broader discussion. But next time, part 2 is about food.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about, you know, the intricacies of American food and Chinese food.
Yes.
Hamburger, yay, yay, right?
Hot dogs.
I bring Lily in.
Yeah. We'll talk about food, and I think John and I, we love to barbecue. You know, we have a grill. Yeah, we're big barbecue meat. So we'll talk about that next week. So I'm gonna stop this. So just signing off, saying bye to everybody.
Bye.
Yep.
Hey.